Okay, and we're live. So welcome everybody to the Bottom of the Ninth podcast. I'm your host, Elijah, and today we are here with, you're in Buffalo, right? Buffalo native, Amanda Werth. Buffalo native, Amanda Werth. How are you doing today, Amanda?
Oh, I'm fantastic. It's middle of the week, so of course my arm's about to fall off. Hopefully going to make it through the next couple months with our busy season, getting ready, girls ready for the varsity season, the college season, but hopefully we'll make it through. I'm super excited just because everyone is just so pumped to play. And even though it's a snow globe here now, you know, we still have a lot of indoor stuff going on. And I can see the light, you know, in the girls' eyes every time they talk about how close their season is.
Yeah. So I got to ask, so you coach like all week, right? Sunday through Saturday, or is it like Monday through Friday?
Usually about 6 days a week.
Okay.
Typically it is Monday through Friday, but a lot of times I will have a lot of teams book me out on the weekends. So I love it though. I mean, it just goes by so fast. Like yesterday I had a super long day. I think it was about 7-8 hours and computer work on top of it.
No, that's not.
But
well, it's fun. If you love it, you love it. But that's a long.
It just
day.
goes by so fast. Yeah.
Yeah. When you love it, it goes by quick. So you have you throwing BP every single day then, huh?
Yeah.
When I coach in the spring, they have me throw BP every single day, and my arm is like, it's like hanging. I'm like walking around like hanging my arm. Yeah. So I can.
But luckily, softball BP is different than baseball BP. I mean, like the underhand motion is so much more natural than the overhand motion.
Yeah, it's true.
So, you know, luckily, like I can go probably a little bit longer than you can, but surprisingly,
my head coach doesn't think I have a limit, so he'll just throw me till I can't throw anymore. So I start hitting kids, and he's like, "All right, time to get you out of there."
Yeah, it gives you the shepherd's hook.
Yeah. But anyway, so I know that weather's getting a little bit crazy. It's getting a little cold. I know we were just talking about that. So, and you grew up in the North, right? So you grew up in New York, or did you grow up somewhere else?
Yeah. So I actually grew up in a very rural part of Buffalo. So, you know, I went to a small town school, we call it Farmville. Oh,
wow. Farmville.
I actually went to Roy Hart, and believe it or not, it was me and another girl were the first girls out of that school to receive a Division I scholarship. It was
awesome.
You know,
ever?
Yeah, ever.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's wild. It was me and then another girl went to Wyoming for volleyball.
Oh, wow. So you're the only softball player then?
Yes. I mean, that was the first scholarship.
Yeah.
There's been scholarships since, which I'm super proud of. Like, you know,
that's awesome.
We're finally putting that school on the map, which is good.
There you go. So when you played, let's say when you played in high school, you were a pitcher. Yeah. Was that what it was?
Believe it or not, no.
Oh, because I see you give pitching lessons and stuff. So I was like, is she a pitcher? Or?
Yeah. So I had like the craziest career. This is not like a typical cookie cutter career. Okay. So I actually started playing outfield. Like I was pretty much like, you know, loved outfield. I was fast. I could gun people out. Loved it. And I did play a lot of shortstop for my travel ball teams growing up, and through like high school, I did pitch a little bit. But I didn't love the infield. Like I, for some reason, just like loved making those big time plays out in the outfield and making those, you know, game changing, you know, light that fire under your butt.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Game changing catches.
Right.
And that's where I actually got recruited to play outfield. But hilarious, this is where it gets a little crazy, is 2 games into my freshman season, into my Niagara University's season, my freshman season, I actually broke my foot off my leg.
What?
Yeah.
Off your leg? Like the bone completely disconnected?
100%. Yep. And the only thing that was like literally leaving it attached was the skin. And so I went in, I was first time sliding in metal cleats. I mean, you have to think about Buffalo here. You know, you don't know this because you're in Texas, but we start our seasons in February, and we go from the gym floor to dirt. You know, we literally play our first game on dirt, and then we go back to the gym floor for a couple weeks, and then we go on dirt, and then we go back to the gym floor. We can't practice on dirt. And so as a freshman, my coach just literally handed me metal cleats, and I had never played in metal cleats before. Didn't think twice about it.
Is there a reason about that? Like, is that like, cause I know like, is there like an age limit? Cause I know guys, we can't use metal cleats until we're like 13 or 14? So
are
y'all not
it's 16?
Oh, it's 16. Oh, okay. So different. Yeah. Okay.
And I just never thought about it. Like I never really felt like I needed it. And none of the coaches were like, oh, Amanda, you need to be wearing metal cleats. So coach gave me these college cleats, for the team, and they were metal. And I just didn't think twice about it. So I went in, slid, stealing second base, and my toe caught and my body weight just hit my foot, twisted it completely around and off. And they actually told me that I would never run again, that I would never play again. And that was the second game of my
your career.
Season.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was that rehab like?
Whew. Okay. So I was, so because it was a twisting break, I broke both of those bones in almost like a spiral.
Right.
And so they had to go in, they had to not only reattach my foot to my leg, which, by the way, I actually did sever all of the tendons all the way up to the knee.
There's no way you twist it and completely break it and not everything goes with it.
Yeah, all the way up to the knee.
That. Everything had to have gone.
Yeah. So they had to reattach my foot, and then they also, with a plate, and I think it was 6 or 7 screws, and then they also had to repin those twisted bones back in and make sure that those 2 bones were not completely facing outwards. They had to bring them back in. So it was I know you're gagging right now.
I'm not gagging. I mean, you've seen those the crazy injuries, but I'm picturing it and I'm like, oh God, this is pretty cool.
And I heard the snap, I felt the snap, I knew exactly what had happened when it happened.
Yeah, it's one of those it's broken. It's broken.
Yeah, but I was safe. So
that's what matters. There you go. You were safe. You held on to the bag or what?
Yeah. So hilarious. So I guess I'm 1 for 1 on stolen bases in my college career, but
I guess were there no more stealing bases after that one after you came back? No, really. I didn't think so.
Nope. But yeah, so I actually I was in a cast for about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And I was on crutches for about 9.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so that was actually the introduction to me playing all of these other positions. So, I came back my sophomore year after them telling me, you know what, you're never going to play again. You're never going to be athletic on that leg. You're never going to run. And I ended up coming back. I was determined. Yeah. And luckily I had some really good physical trainers. I actually went out on my own. I got a personal trainer to help me rehab this injury.
Right.
And I came back my sophomore year. I set a college-wide squat record for female athletes. My sophomore year after coming back from that. Yep. I think it was awesome. 315.
315?
Yeah.
Dude, you squat more than I do. That's ridiculous. I can't. Well, first of all, I hate training legs, so that speaks. But 315, that's big weight.
Yeah.
That's legit.
That was kind of okay, I can do this type of deal. Yeah. And then, I was DHing for a while because my main thing, my biggest thing that I love to coach, I love to do is to hit. Right, I am a little girl. I hate to say it, but I'm 5 foot nothing.
Yeah.
And every time I'd go up to the plate, all these coaches would be like, "Oh, she's little, bring it in, bring."
Yeah.
Smaller kids. And so my biggest thing is to go up to the box and prove people wrong.
Yeah.
And so my entire career at Niagara, I was batting 345 just because, I would literally walk up to the plate and I'd be like, I'm going to prove them wrong. Yeah. And, for all those little girls out there, I hope you guys know that you guys can hit the ball hard. Yeah, good mechanics and being smart at the plate and attacking pitches, during counts, that is just huge.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that's something that's changed, over time. Cause even you look at I speak from a baseball perspective. I'm not super versed in softball, but there are some guys that play that I don't know if you've seen Jose Altuve, dude's 5'5". Yeah. He can play. There's a lot of guys that can play that aren't 6 foot. And that's a beautiful thing about baseball and softball is that it's one of the few sports where size doesn't normally matter in this game. Cause anyone of any size can play. In football, it's pretty much if you're not a massive monster, you're not going to be able to play that game because you're going to get overpowered. In basketball, same concept. If you're not 6'6" or above, you're not going to be able to compete. But in baseball and softball, size literally doesn't matter. Anybody of any size, stature can play and they can compete at the highest possible level. I've seen, I don't remember, I was watching, it was the College World Series for women. I think it was this year or the year before. I don't know if it was OU or Florida had a girl that was 5'0". and she was just a monster, like an absolute monster at the plate in the outfield. It's insane. It's insane. Right. So I figured that's kind of where you're at. You're probably in that area where you're just a monster running around.
Just I always tell my girls, you don't have to be a power, sometimes your best hitter doesn't have to be your power hitter. Mm-hmm. Sometimes your best hitter is your smartest hitter.
True. That's so true. Yeah.
And, coming up big in big situations, being smart, maintaining your composure, that's the type of stuff that matters when the game's on the line. And I would always rather have a smaller girl who can maintain her composure rather than this big power hitter who breaks down under pressure.
Yeah, that is the most accurate thing I think I've heard in a long time. Because you have those guys, there's always those people that are like the superstars and they're so good and they do all these great things. But then when it comes down, like when you really need them to be there, they're not there. And that's like the most, like being clutch overpowers anything else. In my opinion, at least. I'm sure there's people that will disagree, but being clutch is way better. So let's go back to you a little bit. So you played in high school. Obviously you were a pretty standout. Obviously if you were one of the few people to get a scholarship to play in a Division I, no less. I mean, that's like the highest you can possibly go, right? Were there a couple offers on the table, or was there only one? Was Niagara your one and only, or was there like a couple different sporadic ones that you kind of had to choose between, or how did that go?
So hilarious. I knew a couple things early on, about myself. So one, I wanted to be, I didn't want to sit behind a desk. Okay. Right. Okay. Number two, I wanted to help people. I knew from an early age that I wanted to help people. And then number three, I wanted to be a badass. I think as a small kid, that's what I wanted to do. Okay. I had it in my mind that those were the three things that I wanted to do. And coming from a military and a law enforcement family, that's kind of where my inspiration came from. Like I had an uncle in the FBI who would literally come home after in the holidays and just tell me all of these
crazy stories.
Yeah. Him catching the bad guy and, how he outsmarted so-and-so.
Yeah.
And so I knew from an early stage that, I wanted to go for law enforcement. So that was something that kind of drove me to the colleges that had the best law enforcement programs.
Gotcha.
So a little difference in softball versus baseball is that I always tell my girls, listen, there's not a ton of pro leagues out there after college to play softball. Yeah. And so you have to understand that you're not going to school to play baseball. You're going to school for an education first, and softball second. And so, I really loved Niagara right from the get-go because Niagara had one of the best law enforcement programs in the state.
Yeah.
And so that's what drove me there. I did have a bunch of offers, and I did go to the overnights. I did go to
all the visits and stuff like that. Yeah.
All of the clinics, the camps, and I talked to the girls, I talked to the team, I talked to the coaches. And if I have one piece of advice to girls who are trying to get recruited, it's honestly, when you know. Yeah. I knew right away when I went to Niagara that talking to the team, talking to the coaches, that was the one I wanted to go to. So if it doesn't feel right, listen to your gut.
Yeah, that's big. See, that's huge because there's a lot of kids, and I speak, and like I said, I know you're speaking to the softball audience, and I speak, and I know a lot of people that are going through the recruiting process now, girls and boys that are growing up, because I've been coaching and I've known a lot of kids that play, and that's one of the biggest things I tell people is the school has to feel right. I know for softball players, obviously it's a little different when you get that the post college career, it's a little bit smaller of a chance for you to go play, and then even when you do go play, it may not amount to what the chances for a guy to go out and play. I mean, even those chances are small, but it's a little bit more profitability on that side for a male than it is for female. But even then, let's just say a girl does plan and her whole passion is to go play pro ball, and it's you can, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's but at the same time, to get to that point, you have to be able to play. And that's my biggest thing to kids. Cause there's always the kids that are in high school. They're hey, I want to go play here. And I'm dude, you have to be honest with yourself and be hey, can you play at this level? Is this people don't take into account going to major universities is such a big deal. That's so cool. And it's awesome. And it's great. And it looks great on paper. It looks great to your friends. It looks great on social media. But I know a lot of kids that struggle in environments in the classroom that way, that maybe being in an environment where you're in a classroom with thousands of other people, it's a little bit harder where you may need to get that smaller classroom instruction. You may need to be in a smaller group to actually succeed, to then be able to play, to have a successful college career. And I think a lot of people look at that the wrong way, and it's more or less the status. And it's like, I preach to people all the time, like, you'd rather go play at like a junior college or play Division II and play like all year and actually have a great time and actually get the reps and all that and get the full college experience than go into a major D1 and literally sitting for 3 years because they have some stud they recruited in the same spot that you're in 3 years ago.
Yes.
That's waited the same thing to play his last 2 years to mature and grow. And now you're having to wait 2 years, or maybe you fit into another spot, but the chances are small because a lot of times big D1s are recruiting and they're 3 deep in every position. So
100%.
It's crazy. People really overlook that whole part of the recruiting process. It's always the status, but it's not really what's best for the kid or the player.
Right. Yeah. And I knew right away, like I went to a couple bigger schools. I went to a couple medium-sized schools. I went to D3, D2, D1, JUCO schools. Yeah. Like I really did do my homework before I committed. And, I knew right away that I didn't, coming from a very small, I think we had like less than 100 people in our graduating class in my high school. So like coming from a very small school, going into these large, huge universities, I was overwhelmed. Like I was that little farm girl, like going into the city, like, and I was just like, you know what, this doesn't feel right. This isn't what I want. And, Niagara, like just kind of had everything that I wanted. It was on one single campus.
Ooh,
the classrooms, it seems like the teachers knew your names, in the classes and, and everyone kind of knew everybody. And that was the environment that I wanted. And, that may not be true for everyone.
Right.
I know a lot of my girls really enjoyed, they come from a big high school and they want that big college.
It's a different feel. Yeah. It's a much different feel.
And I get that. I totally do. But, for me, it was just nice because, my dad was here. Niagara is about an hour away from our house. And not that I didn't want to go out of state, because I totally did. I was like totally down. I wanted to get as far away from my family as I could when I was like 13, 14, 15. And then I don't know what happened, but I think around like 16, 17, I started to realize like, oh my God, my dad's not going to be at every single game if I go out of state. Yeah. And, my family is just such a big part of my softball career, and my dad especially. And so
well, that's awesome.
That was like a big part of why I kind of chose to stay, not local, but local enough where, my dad was at almost every single game.
It's feasible. Yeah. They can make that drive. It's funny that you say that, because a lot of kids, obviously, like my sister was the same way, because my sister, she doesn't play college athletics, but she was like, for the longest time, she was like, I'm going to go to like Vanderbilt and go like far away. And we're like, okay, like that's fine, but you're not going to come, because now she goes to A&M. In College Station. So San Antonio to A&M is like maybe 2.5 hours. It's not far. But then like, as she was saying that since she was like in 6th grade, because she's like a super like book nerd, like super like played sports, but like was way more on the academic side than like me and my brother were. And it was like, it might be a girl thing, honestly, because everybody I know has always been like, I want to go so far away. I don't want to be anywhere near home. I think it's a girl thing, honestly. Like that's just what it is. But then as they mature and they get older, it's kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Like I don't want to necessarily separate that far from like my loved ones and everything like that. Cause then as it got closer to like your senior year, she was like, well, maybe I'll go to like A&M or UT. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. Right. As you mature, it changes. But so, it could be, cause then like my girlfriend's the same concept. She's like, I don't want to go anywhere in Texas. So she went to Oklahoma State. So which is like really far. That's like 8.5 hours. So it's like, I don't know. It seems like every girl I know like just wants to get far away from their hometown. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But in a way, I was kind of lucky, because when I was injured, I was able to stay a part of the team for the most part.
Did you get to travel and everything?
Yeah. So I actually had to withdraw because I had missed so much classes.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. So unfortunately, like I can literally label myself as a college dropout, but it wasn't my fault. Like I actually,
it's one of those weird,
because my foot, so my foot was so bad. And I actually, because it happened down in Tennessee.
So it didn't even happen at home.
No. We were down in Tennessee for spring training, and that's 14 hours away from Buffalo. And so when it happened, they dragged me to the hospital. Hospital told me, you need to get home now so they can do the surgery, because they wouldn't do the surgery because they couldn't handle the aftercare. you know, the same surgeon who does the surgery wants to also handle the aftercare. Right. And so they were like, you need to get home now. So my coach thought about putting me on a flight, but luckily, of course, my dad was there in Tennessee for my opening, you know, tournament.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he loaded me up in the back of the truck, bought a couple pillows from Walmart, and we drove 14 hours straight. You know, my dad got me home. And unfortunately, when I got home, the doctors told me, nope, we can't do surgery because it's too swollen at this point. It took too long to get you home.
Dang.
So I actually had to sit for 10 days with a broken foot. It was set, but it was broken for 10 days for that swelling to go down.
Did they give you like meds for that? I mean, you're just sitting there pretty much in like serious pain. Like,
it was, no way. I mean, they gave me some meds. I didn't want to take a ton just because they really did make me really loopy. And then number two,
10 days of just, I can imagine 10 days of you just being out of your mind. That's probably not
the worst.
safe.
So I couldn't go to class. I mean, I was dorming at the time, and how do you take care of yourself on crutches? You can't, you know, pick up a bowl of cereal and crutch to your dorm room. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's not going to work.
So I had to move out of the dorm. I ended up going home. You know, luckily my dad was able to really help me through that whole thing because, you know, your life is shattered at that point.
Yeah,
you wake up one day and you realize your identity as a softball player is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
You know, you have people telling you, nope, you'll never play again. Like, you know, you'll never run well, you know, that's devastating. And it is. So anyways, I got home, you know, I had to withdraw, but after I started to feel a little bit better, I ended up having to take some summer classes because I wanted to be eligible for the following season.
Right. Yeah.
So I ended up realizing how easy summer classes were. And I ended up taking, because I was just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, might as well take as many as you can, right?
I ended up taking 9 summer classes.
Holy crap.
Because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, you're not doing anything else. Yeah,
you're laid up.
Fair enough.
And so anyways, I got so far ahead that the next summer I did the same thing. And I actually took a couple winter classes as well, like over Christmas break.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So believe it or not, I actually ended up finishing my 4-year degree in 2 years. Oh, and so again, silver lining with getting hurt. I never would have done summer classes. I never would have gotten ahead.
Yeah.
And so I ended up finishing my 4-year in 2, and then I ended up getting an MBA out of it as well. Yeah. You know, free school. So why
that's
not?
Awesome.
And then I ended up finishing that my 3rd year. And my 4th year, coach was like, "Oh, do you want to still play?" And I'm like, "Okay, so what classes am I going to go to?" You know, and so I ended up getting a second MBA, which was awesome. Gosh. And then I even had that 5th year to take, which again, coach is like, "Oh yeah, you're coming back, right?" I'm like, "Coach, what do you want to start calling me? Doctor? Doctor?"
Seriously.
Like,
you're just taking all these classes, the master of degrees over here, just got them all or what? Yeah. That's crazy. Right? That's honestly insane.
Yeah. But you know, everything kind of has a silver lining. And then the other silver lining to getting hurt like that, like, you know, you never would think it, but my sophomore year, I came back, couldn't run. I was DHing. So, you know, I was still hitting, which was phenomenal. But our starting catcher went down with like a labrum tear. She ended up hurting her arm. And, you know, our freshman catcher that we had couldn't, you know, unfortunately just couldn't perform under pressure. She
wasn't ready.
Those girls who was just so good, but just couldn't keep her composure in games.
Yeah, yeah.
And so coach looks at me, looks at that catcher, looks at me, looks at that catcher, and goes, "Hey, Werth." I go, "What, coach?" He goes, "You think you could learn how to catch?" So catching
is no slump either. That's a whole other ballgame.
No. So hilarious. 10 days later, I am catching in my first Division I game when I had never caught before in my life. Like literally, we went how to catch for dummies. Like literally day 1.
Oh my gosh.
10. And I was catching against our rival Canisius, you know, literally on day 10, and everyone's like looking at me like, "Is that Werth?
Is this really happening right now?"
Yeah, like, are my eyes deceiving me? Like, and so hilarious. That's actually where I played the majority of my career after that. And then same thing, like our first baseman ended up going down. I'm literally 5'0" nothing. 5'0"
at
nothing.
First base,
like, "Do you think you could learn how to play first base?" And I'm like, "Sure." 2 days later, You're at first base,
You are literally, so you're like a Swiss Army knife of positions for the team, yeah?
Oh, wait, it gets better.
It gets better? Oh, gosh.
It gets better. So my senior year, we had 2 of our pitchers go down with arm injuries or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so they literally looked at me. They looked at our pitchers, looked at me. They did it again. They were like, hey, Werth, you think you could throw some innings for us this year?
And how did that go? And
actually, it didn't go badly. I actually learned a ton because from catching,
right. Yeah. Catching, quite a bit. Yeah.
And you're sitting through all of these Division I pitching lessons. You're sitting through bullpens. You're listening to these coaches talk to their pitchers. And, you have to know as a catcher, like, okay, if my pitcher isn't doing this, this, and this on her drop ball, that ball's not going to drop.
Absolutely.
If she's too far over top of her drop ball, I need to know how to drop and block because that ball is going to be in the dirt. Like you need to anticipate as a catcher, and you need to know enough about your pitch mechanics to either help your pitcher. Like you have to wear a lot of hats as a catcher. Sometimes you're their therapist, sometimes you're their pitching coach. Sometimes you are their cheerleader. Like you never know what you're gonna get.
I can relate to that because all my life I've pitched, and then when I got to my junior year of high school, I caught and I started catching. That's kind of how I became a catcher because we needed somebody. Same concept, but this was more of a less serious. I wasn't a Division I athlete at the time, so it was a little less strenuous. So I know exactly how those two intertwine. I mean, there's a lot of coaches I know now that were catchers that are pitching coaches because they just know. You just know because you've seen so many guys go through so many different mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how to fix it.
I feel like it helped me too. It gives me a different perspective because as a pitcher, you know what it should feel like.
Right.
But you don't always know what it should look like. So when you go to try to coach it, sometimes it's hard to put into words what it should feel like and show the girls like, hey, this is what it should look like. This is the right things A, B, C to do. And so believe it or not, like when I was pitching, it actually went really well because I knew what I should be doing. I knew what adjustments I needed to make ahead of time.
Right.
And so sometimes just being able to throw innings, and that's exactly what they told me. They're like, Werth, you literally just need to throw strikes and let your defense
get us some innings. Yeah. I mean,
sometimes teams need that.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone's going to be out there throwing, I think you guys, what's high for you guys? Like 80, like 70, 75? Is that like flamethrower? 65? Okay. Is gas.
Typical average D1 pitcher.
Okay. I could have swore so 70 is like, is that like not common?
Is like top. You don't really, I mean, I think I've seen that in like the Olympics. There's maybe like a few
some girls that can really throw it up there.
65 is like the norm.
Cool. Yes. That's what I figured. I thought it was like 65 in that area. It's 70. I don't know why I said 75. It's definitely not 75. I thought it was way up there, but I knew it was up there in that area. How fast did you clock in at when you were pitching?
I think around 58, 60. Yeah.
That's not bad.
But like I said,
just threw you out there and you just started throwing like average, like almost above average. That's insane.
Well, I did have some pitching experience coming from high school, but I didn't love it.
Gotcha.
And so that's why the coaches were like, hey, you've pitched before. You think you could do it again? And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
But again, there's a silver lining to it because one, I now get to teach a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Before I was strictly outfield, I really had never played a lick of infield other than some shortstop. And it was just because I was needed there. It wasn't because I loved it.
Right.
And now it's like these clinics, it's like, I am kind of a jack of all trades. Like I can tell girls like, hey, it's good to know different positions. It's good to learn different skills, even though you may think that you're going to be playing one position, you might be playing another position. I mean,
you never
what
know.
happens if your shortstop is puking on her way to the game and now all of a sudden your team doesn't have a shortstop or your catcher or your pitcher. And, the more things you know how to do, the more valuable you're going to be to that team. And
Absolutely.
I think that's why I was valuable to my university is not just because, I could hit. It was just actually because I was willing to do whatever the team needed me to do. Even if it was a position I wasn't super comfortable in.
Yeah, that's a really valuable trait, honestly, to just be able to be a team player and like not be that person that's like, I'm a shortstop and that's all I can play. You don't ask me to do anything else. Don't ask me to do anything out of that
right,
out of that
we all
realm.
Know a couple of those.
We all do. Yes, believe me, we all do. But like that's and I knew guys like that you stick them anywhere and they're going to make it happen no matter what. And that's like the ultimate team player. That's what every coach is obviously looking for. Okay. So you play your years what feels like forever, obviously with your 6 degrees or whatever, how many degrees you came out of there with, right? I was being facetious with 6, but, so you finish up your career. I know you said in your bio and everything, you had went to Niagara because of their, I guess, law enforcement or that background the university had, right? Because you said you wanted to be an FBI officer.
Yeah, and the coach. I definitely went
the
for
coach
the coach
for sure, obviously. Yeah. But so you go there, you finish up. Finally, your 5th year ends with everything that's happened, everything you've been through at that point. What was the deciding factor in that career change? Was like, I'm going to become, was there a gap? Did you actually try to become an FBI officer and then be like, no, this isn't for me. I'm going to go, start coaching again. Or was it kind of like, you know what, scratch this whole thing. I'm going to go straight into coaching. How did that happen?
It's so funny that you say that because so many of my girls do graduate college and they all have this conversation with me.
Really?
They all ask me like
what happened?
How did you decide, to follow either your degree or follow your passions?
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with a bunch of my girls. And what it was for me was I actually did call up my uncle in the FBI.
There you go,
because I had started coaching when I was probably 16 or 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I was coaching all throughout high school and college.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell into it by accident. Hilarious. One of our opposing varsity coaches that we play against actually approached me after a game and was like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And I'm like, oh no, here I am. I'm in trouble. Like, you get called
I know
out.
what you mean. Yeah. You're like, oh gosh. Yeah.
That's how I felt. She pulled me aside and she's like, hey, I love the way you play and I love the way you hit. Is there any way you could give my 8-year-old daughter a couple hitting lessons?
Oh, wow.
And I go, oh my God, like that is like the most ultimate compliment that an opposing coach, not even an opposing coach would say that to you. Yeah. And so hilarious, the next day, I think I had her over my backyard. We did have a cage in our backyard just because we are a crazy, crazy family. My dad did everything he could to set me up for success. And so the very next day, she's over. And I'm giving her a couple tips and I'm super nervous, Yeah,
first one.
Yeah, she ended up loving it. And she, one kid turned into 2 kids turned into 5, word of mouth just like exploded. And that's actually where I got my coaching start was, just.
Oh, so was that early?
Almost like a happy accident.
Yeah.
It was a happy accident. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was a great way of getting through college because it was great extra money. All those parents really understood that, my college, ball came first.
Yeah.
And so it was a great way on my schedule to make some extra cash. And so when I got out of school, I really did have kind of a crisis. I had like almost an identity crisis. Because I was like, what do I do? Do I go to the academy, leave all my girls that I've just formed such good bonds with? Like, at the end of those 6 years, those girls felt like extended family. Like I watched them weekly, like every week, like get their braces on, go through their awkward stage.
Yeah, you watch them grow up.
Boyfriend, going to prom. Like they felt like such family. Like, how do I leave them?
Yeah.
And so I ended up calling my uncle in the FBI. And I asked him, I said, how do I make this decision? What do I do? And he actually gave me a really good piece of advice. He asked me a question. He goes, what would you rather do? Would you rather work with the scum of the earth and work for somebody else your entire life?
Right.
Or would you rather work for yourself and work with the best of the best, with kids who are motivated, with parents and kids who want to be there and having fun, doing what you are passionate about?
Right.
And it took me, I was like, okay, you know what? You have a point. But it still took me about 2-3 weeks to really process that phone call. Yeah. And after that 2 weeks, I actually decided, I said, you know what? I'm going to make this a business. I'm going to make this kind of like my career. Right. And that's what I did. I started off with a lot of private lessons, but I have since kind of transitioned to a lot of these larger scale clinics and camps and groups. And, my biggest highlight was actually doing a 100-kid clinic at the Buffalo Bills Fieldhouse.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Sean McDermott set me up. himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
That's crazy.
Actually, we had his kid show up. He's the head coach of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, we had a staff of 35. We had LSU show up.
Oh,
we
wow.
had Georgia Tech show up. It was just such an
That's
amazing
insane.
highlight.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
That in itself should be a story that you have to tell. How did you get that to happen? So you met the Buffalo Bills coach and everything, and you hosted 100-person camp on the field. We have to hear this story.
It was amazing. Yeah. So, long story short, when he moved to Buffalo, his daughters play softball.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, through friends of a friend, or word of mouth.
Yep.
I guess they must have heard of me and they wanted to offer it out and try to get, obviously they had some space in the field house that needed to be used. And they were like, you know what, let's do something for the girls in the community. So how awesome of, a big football guy to want to do something for the female side, and do something for his daughters and do something for the girls.
Yeah.
And so it was just so much fun. I look back and my entire family was there.
Oh, wow.
My brother flew in. He's in the Navy.
Oh, wow.
He flew in, he took time off. He's like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to help you. My mom was there. My dad was there, It was just an amazing
It's an amazing experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, and you had all those cool college, the big time universities out there to help you. That's pretty awesome. And was it like a prospecting camp, or was it kind of one of those an instructional camp, or?
So it was a little bit of both. We did kind of put the age limit. I think it was 13 or above.
Okay.
Just because if we were going to bring in LSU and Georgia Tech and all of those other big colleges, I think that the older kids would benefit more from the higher level instruction, than the little kids. The little kids are so much fun, but I think
they're a little bit of work.
Yeah. If LSU was going to come out, we wanted to make sure that, they were getting as much feedback from them as possible.
Yeah. Of course. So you talk to your uncle and he gives you that talk and things kind of settle in, which I think he has a point, because my cousin's a police officer and he tells me some of the stuff he's a detective now. My uncle's in the SWAT. So I hear stuff all the time, how that's a tough, anything law enforcement is pretty rough. I'd say you have to be pretty much rugged and built to handle stuff like that. Cause you see some really awful things. And he's true. You're working with some really awful, the worst people you can possibly find. Right. Opposed to actually doing what you've been doing your entire life and helping people kind of go down that same path. So you thought about it and you decided, you know what? Coaching is where I want to go. Is that kind of how it went, or was it kind of a light bulb thing, or what happened?
Definitely a light bulb thing. After that conversation, it did take me 2 weeks to really process that phone call.
Yeah.
And, I really had to decide because, it's I went to school for law enforcement, right? My 4-year degree was in law enforcement, but luckily, again, good advice from my uncle.
Yeah, seriously.
I said, so I'm going for my graduate degree, what should I go for? And he said, in the FBI, you don't want to go for law enforcement for a second degree. They don't want that. They want something else. So I ended up going for management in my MBA. And then the only classes that would actually fit in my softball schedule was actually for my second MBA was for marketing. And
there you go.
In my head, the entire time I was taking those classes, I'm like, I'm never going to use this. I'm never going to use this.
Yeah, look where that got you now.
I'm never going to use this. And hilarious. What am I using the most?
Your marketing degree.
Marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Especially with you tell me all the time, you're over here doing all this computer stuff, SEO, all this crazy stuff. You're posting on Instagram. You're creating so much content. I'm like, yeah, that marketing degree was probably really clutch.
Yeah. Right. And so it's just so funny that my uncle, crazy enough as it is, my uncle really did have a huge part in, steering me, to
in
where
the right
this
direction.
It was just a happy accident. I didn't really have a career path other than to go into the FBI. And, again, that light bulb, like you said, just turned on. And I just realized, I just can't give up, how rewarding that feeling is walking out of a class and be like, you know what, I made a difference. And these girls are better and they had fun and they learned that they can put their mind to anything that they want to do.
Right. Yeah.
And that's such the rewarding feeling with coaching.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because like when you said you had an identity crisis, like when softball does like end and you're like, I don't know like who I am, right? Because the game ends, right? And the game ends for everybody, obviously at different times in their life. Some guys play forever and some guys are done at 18. It ranges, right? But everyone I think goes, because I had that same problem when I finished playing. Like I had Tommy John, I needed Tommy John to stop playing, but your whole life you're like this baseball player, softball player. That's who you are. It's like it's like that's what people know you as. You're like, oh, Elijah, that's the baseball player. Like Amanda, oh, the softball. Like everyone knows you as that, because that's just who you've been your whole life, right? And then when it ends, you're almost like what? Who? Like who? Almost like who am I? Like I don't even know what to do with myself. And I had that problem, which is why I started working here, because I knew I loved the game, but like I was so like weird about it, because I was like, okay, baseball's done. And I was one of those guys, I was like, I didn't want that to be like who I am forever. Like you want different facets to yourself. You want like different pieces of you, right?
Exactly.
And I think like it took me a little bit to find like like where I wanted, like needed to be. Finally found it. We're here. Like we're doing amazing and awesome things. We get to work with amazing people like you. But like for a while, it was kind of like, I don't know, like where am I supposed to go? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think like you found the perfect spot. Like you found exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think that's like super amazing.
Yeah. And the community that I have too, like, you know, the girls that I've seen for years and years and years, like, you know, I even coached a team for 5 years all the way out through high school, and they graduated. And, you know, all those girls are helping me now with these camps and clinics. And I see them touching so many of these small little lives, you know, and, you know, they're putting their take on all of these drills, and they're giving, you know, their knowledge back to the younger generation. And it's like that full circle moment where you're like, oh my God, like she's telling that little kid what I used to tell her when she was that age.
That's
like,
that's
you know,
so weird. That's like so crazy.
It's and it's like the best feeling ever. Like, you know, they always tell, like, I'm sure people say this, but like, if you find what you're passionate about and you do that for work, you'll never work a day in your life. Like,
I feel that.
I just feel like I'm living a dream. Like,
it's not, it's
who
insane.
Who gets to say that they get to throw around a big yellow ball for 8 hours a day and gets to paid for it? Like, what?
Yeah, it's insane. It's nuts. It's literally insane. So I have to ask, because like this is something that I've thought about. I've asked, you know, we had a coach in here on Monday, asked the same question. So, and he's a little bit of a different story. I won't put that one out on Friday. You can see that one, I'm sure. But my thing is, so like you decided to go the route where you do all like clinics and lessons and stuff like that. Was there a reason why you didn't decide to go to coaching like for an organization, or was it mostly just to be your own boss and make your own schedule, or was there something that deterred you from like coaching like traditionally, like a select team or a high school or college or something like that?
Well, I actually did coach a team for a while. That's
what you said.
Yeah. So that varsity coach that approached me when I was like 16, 17, you know, I eventually started helping her be an assistant coach for about 2-3 years.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was a freshman in college, and you know, I actually started as, you know, an assistant coach with a different team.
Okay.
And I actually transitioned more into a head coach the further in I got.
Gotcha.
And so I was with that team for 5 years, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but it is a lot of work.
It is absolutely. You know, I know that more than anybody. Yeah.
Yes. And they kind of promised me, they're like, you know, hey, you know, you are in college. We get it. Come to the practices, run the softball side of things. You won't have to do anything else. And so like, you know, the parents were taking care of the uniforms, the tournament fees, the tournament entrances, like, you know, making sure that like all the girls' names were spelled right on their helmets, like stupid stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
But as I went in, I started to realize that they weren't doing some of the things that they needed to do, like the recruiting process. And so it just turned into this full-time gig that I wasn't getting paid for. And like, I get it. Like I wasn't doing it for the money, but it was to a point where like I was spending my entire weekend with these girls, and then
it's a lot.
Have games twice a week, and then we'd also have to practice once or twice a week. And then I would also be doing all of this back end stuff. And so, you know, again, like I kind of had to choose, because I couldn't grow my business if I was also doing so much on the flip side of that. So, you know, to do it right, like I'm just one of those people who I'm never going to do something half-assed. Yeah. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to be 100% in, you know, I'm committed. And that was kind of the case where I kind of had too many feet and too many doors, you know? and I kind of needed to really choose which door I wanted to open. And so once those girls graduated, I took them all the way through, and they were in college, like, you know, they were set up. Right. Then I kind of said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to coach a team, you know, and I'm going to have to start to, you know, create this business and really put my head down and grind it out.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, that makes total sense. And that's kind of like one of the things that, like, I know a lot of guys that coach high school. I know some guys that coach college. I know some guys that coach select balls exclusively. And coaching in itself is such a, like, you have to be full in. You can't do something like that, like kind of half in, half out. And that's kind of like what deterred me from coaching myself. Like I coach a middle school team that I went to middle school at. It's like a small Catholic school here in San Antonio that I went to, grew up there. And like, I know the coach there now. And like, I've watched all these kids grow up. So I was like, they were asking me for so long to do it. And I finally caved like in 2020, and I've been coaching there every spring since. And that's just kind of like, that's like where I can give all, because I know that it's like all these guys play select balls, so they play elsewhere. I can kind of give my 2 cents and give them what I can there. But it's not as extensive to where I need to be doing like all those things, like helping them with the recruiting process and all that extraneous stuff I don't have to deal with. And that's where it fits my niche. Cause like there would be no way I can do all this stuff and then do something like you're doing. There's just not enough time in the day to do something like that.
Right now.
Yeah.
Like I literally wake up, I'm on my computer until I have to go to the facility. Yeah. And, you know, it's a lot of back end stuff people don't realize. Like, you know, if it's a lot of following up, it's a lot of making sure people, you know, the website's up to date, making sure the events, like the event calendar is, you know, correct. Like,
absolutely.
You know, coordinating, making sure I have the correct help for the correct dates. Like it's, it's more than people think, you know, on the back end stuff.
You're a scheduler, a marketer, a coach,
you wear a lot of hats.
A web designer, you're everything.
Your own accountant.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, it's crazy. So here, and this was one of the bigger questions, and I told you this would be asked, is like, okay, so the recruiting process, and this is kind of going towards the older girls. You know, I talk to everyone that I pretty much bring on here that's played at a high level, especially the pro guys. The recruiting process is such an interesting topic because everyone's is different. There's never like, okay, I went through this process, and I ended up here. And it's like, I love to get the different takes, especially in a different industry like softball. Cause softball, y'all are, no offense, y'all are weird. Cause I know girls that'll commit to I'm serious. I know girls that'll commit to universities in like 8th grade. And I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. But like y'all's recruiting process is so much different than ours in certain aspects. In certain aspects, it's pretty traditional. It's a little bit the same across the board, but in some spots it is different. So how did your recruiting process go? If you could tell us that. And then on top of that, what do you preach to your players coming up that you have in your academy, that you teach, that you coach, and how do you prepare them for that process?
So my recruiting process was a little bit weird too. Like you kind of hit the nail on the head. I actually did commit in 10th grade.
Everyone's is weird, honestly. Everyone's is like, this is crazy. Everybody I've asked, I should make a compilation of everyone asked. Well, mine was a little weird. Mine was weird too. It's like everyone's was like whack. It wasn't like I played, the coach saw me, I signed, it was done. No, it was like there's all these different levels to it.
Right. Yeah. So I actually did commit in 10th grade, and I think I had kind of an easy recruiting process. I wouldn't say easy in the fact that it was not a lot of work, because it was.
It was, yeah. Everyone's is.
But yeah, so I actually played in what's called open ball. So there's like, you know, I'm sure in baseball you have it too. It's like 12 and under, 14 under, 16, 18. And then after 18, it's called open. And it's basically for all of like the current college players who are like 20, 21, 22 to come back over the summer and have some play.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so believe it or not, I was like 14 or 15 and I was playing open.
Okay.
And
oh, wow.
Yeah, I got an opportunity. I was playing on one of the best travel softball teams in the area. You know, my 2 coaches were amazing. Oh my God. Like I learned so much from them. Like they taught me how to be a good teammate. They taught me how to field the ball. Like those were the 2 coaches that really took a chance on me. And they really, I mean, I was batting 13th, and then within the year I was batting 4th. And it was because of them. Yeah, it was because of that. And so they were the ones who took a chance on me. And unfortunately, you know, when I was like 14, 15, I was playing shortstop, and I wasn't a shortstop. And that's just what the team needed me to do.
Right. At
Whereas
that moment,
in reality, I really wanted to play outfield. And so I got this opportunity to play on an open team. And, you know, they asked me, they're like, oh, so-and-so said you're pretty decent. Let's go play outfield. And I'm like, okay. So I show up. And I'm literally 14, 15 years old, and I'm hitting against the current Niagara pitcher and the current Canisius pitcher. Like literally I was playing against all of these college players, and through kind of word of mouth, like after a couple of years of playing with them, they were like, hey, this girl's pretty good. Like, let's recruit her.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. They're probably like, hey coach, like, hey, come look at this girl.
Yeah. And it was just so funny because like, those older girls, one, it helped me so much to it's a different pace of the game once you get to college.
Yeah.
Than travel ball.
Oh yeah. It's way faster.
The pitching is completely different. Like, as much as people are like, oh, it's the same. It's not.
Yeah.
Like, and so, the fact that like I had played with all these older girls, one, it helped me mature so much more.
Right.
And those older girls just made me feel so welcome and included, even though I was so young and I wasn't like a part of their like inner circle, right? Like they always took their time to like, hey, how are you, Werth? Like, what's going on? Like, they always made it a point to make me a part of the team.
It's funny.
That always meant so much to me. And so all of a sudden, like their coaches started to contact me. And that's how that kind of worked out is like, just word of mouth, again, having a good reputation, being a good teammate, always thinking like, okay, I don't think anybody's watching, but I don't care.
Yeah. You never know. You never know.
You never know who's going to be watching. So, we played a lot of local tournaments. We did travel a little bit. I think this team probably lost like 3 games in 3 years.
Y'all are stacked in.
Because we were literally like, it was the best of the best. Like it was just so crazy. Like it was the best 2 softball players from each Division I or Division II school locally that would just get on a team and play. Yeah. And I was really lucky to have an opportunity to play with them. And, as far as I know, they were the ones who got me recruited.
Yeah.
And so I did actually, send out a lot of emails. So, it's just so funny because they always talk about Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills quarterback, and how he sent out 1,000 letters to college coaches and he only got 1 response, right? Yeah. That's how I felt because I started sending out these emails in about 9th grade. That's what I tell my girls to start. And, sending out emails, making sure you're telling them like, okay, hey, I'm going to be at this tournament this day. This is what I'm doing to get better in the off season. I'm weightlifting 2-3 times a week, whatever it may be.
Right.
And I got like no response. And
I feel like that's it's weird though. Cause sometimes like schools they don't look at and like, I don't know why they don't, but like, it's so weird now. Like social media is kind of taking, I don't know how many kids. So like we were in the ambassador program. And like you're saying emails, I did the same thing. We sent out emails, there's all kinds of different like forums and places you can put information. Like I think there was like NSCA, like all these weird and like there's a lot of different places to do it. But now social media seems to be the place. Like there's this guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, his name's Pitching Ninja. And he's got 2 different platforms. Yeah, he's got 2 different platforms. One is for pitching and one is for hitting, where like literally it's all for recruiting. Like all you can submit him stuff. And he will post your videos with all your information. And like all these college coaches follow that page. And literally the only reason that those 2 pages exist, like he won't talk to you on those 2 pages unless it's for recruiting purposes. Like you need a place to play. And like that is so like 21st century stuff right there that it's like, and like that didn't exist when we were playing. Like that's insane. And like anytime, like we do all kinds of giveaways and stuff like that. Obviously you know about all, you're one of our ambassadors. So like, all the kids that I look at, baseball players and softball players, their graduation dates, their teams they play for, their like height and weight on their bio or their Instagram. And I'm like, this is nuts. These kids are not on social media anymore to like hang out and talk to friends. It's like a networking opportunity for them. It's insane. It's nuts. Yeah.
So I actually, I ended up going to like these camps and clinics. Like I made it a point in 9th and 10th grade to go to any camps or clinics that these schools had been offering. And that was a great opportunity to meet the team, to meet the coach, to see what the school looked like, get the general feel. And that's actually where I kind of had that gist. Like, you would go into the school and you'd either know or you didn't know. And I remember specifically going into one of the local schools and saying, oh my God, that team was so mean. I do not want to go there, Dad.
I don't want to be here. Yeah. I feel that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it just like totally like, I was like, oh, okay. Like, cause they had actually given me an offer. And when I went for that clinic, I saw that, you know what? Wow, this team is not a team. This team is like at each other's throats.
Yeah.
And I got that general gist from the clinic.
Yeah.
And I just looked at my dad. I'm like, this is not the one.
We need to go.
Anyways, I went in and I went to Niagara's clinic.
Yeah.
And the first day, believe it or not, I actually didn't do very well.
Oh.
They were trying to teach me like something to do with like my back leg, and I just like with hitting, and I just didn't do well.
Sit. Yeah.
And I came back the second day and I said, you know what, I'm going to get this. And I think that they saw that.
Yeah.
I think that they were like, okay, wow, she must have went home and like practiced what we were talking to her about yesterday.
Yeah.
And within a week, that's when I got the offer.
Awesome. That's crazy. That's fast.
Again, it just goes to show it's like, it doesn't actually matter if you perform or like, your performance or your statistics or whatever. It's like they want kids who are coachable. They want kids who they're going to get along with for 4 years. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they don't want just like this home run hitter who's just a total snob, Yeah. Like they want the kid who's going to come in, work hard, and do what you're telling, be coachable, be open-minded.
Absolutely.
And I think that meant way more to them than me just going in there and rocking it. And so...
And I think that's something that's changed. I think that's something that's changed because I think back then it was like, or like a couple years back, it was more like, can you play or not? I can play. You're a stud. You're on the team. And then there's a bunch of clubhouse and locker room problems, and it causes a rift in players in the clubhouse. But now I've seen that a lot different, that coaches will pass on guys who may be assholes, who may be very stuck up. They will pass on that guy and go for the guy that's a good teammate. He's a good clubhouse guy that can that boosts team morale, doesn't cause rift or divisions inside.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing. That's a big piece nowadays.
Yeah. And with that being said, it really drove home. I think it was like maybe my junior or senior year at Niagara. We had a recruit come in, and this girl was a stud. Oh my God. Like I was catching for her. She was a pitcher and her spins were fantastic.
Yeah.
He just had it. Like I was just like, oh my God, this girl just looks so smooth. She has the movement. And I think she was from, either like Oklahoma or Wyoming.
Gotcha.
And I look at my coach, and we had that type of relationship where I looked at him and I said, you better get this girl to come here. And actually he looked back at me and he goes, that's not my job. And I was like,
at first you're like, what are you talking about? That is your job. What are you talking? Yeah.
That is your job.
That is your only job, right? Yeah.
And he actually turned to me and he told me, he said, listen, I don't want a girl to come here for 4 years and not be committed to our program in school.
Absolutely.
If I have to convince her that she should come here, she's not committed to us.
She's not the right
I
fit.
Would be committed to her.
Absolutely. That's probably one of the realest things I've ever heard. Honestly.
The most mind-blowing conversation I've ever had with a coach. Yeah. And I go, oh my God, you're so right. And I think that's why also like they recruited me, was because I had my mind made up. I was like, I really like this school. I really want to be here.
And you wanted to be there. Yeah.
And like, I wasn't like, wishy-washy with them. And like this girl was like, she was just like, she is this, I hate to say it, but like, she was like that kind of, I don't know if this is good enough, or
this isn't to my standard, right? This isn't where I want to. Yeah.
Right. And so, nuts. I just never thought about it that way. I was like, no, it's your job to convince her. And he's like, no, actually it's not. And so,
I think to a certain extent, like you want them to feel comfortable, you want them to feel welcome, you want them to be wanted. But at some point there's a stop point where you're like, okay, I'm not going to sit here and be like, we're going to do everything we can. You're going to do this, get that. And I'm like, no, dude, like you need to want to play here and you need to want to be a part of the program and buy into what we're producing here. And if you don't, then this clearly isn't the right fit for you. This is not where you need to be.
Yes. And so I think that like recruiting for sure is getting your face in front of these coaches as much as possible. So if there's an opportunity to go to a camp or a clinic, go. Even if that does mean that you're like skipping a quote unquote like team practice. I had a couple of my girls ask me recently, they're like, oh, but I have like a hitting practice on, that Saturday. I'm like, your coach will understand.
This is your career we're talking about. This isn't a hitting drill on a Saturday morning.
Let them go. Right. And so that's one of those things where, I always have parents and coaches ask me, well, do you recommend going to these big tournaments, out of state tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Or do you recommend spending all this money on these huge local showcase tournaments? And I actually think that, I did attend all of those. Like, don't get me
so
wrong.
Did I.
I played in those. And I do think it is worth it because it did give me a lot of exposure.
Yeah.
You can't play at the highest levels if you've never performed at the highest levels in track.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, it did give me a lot of exposure. It also made me work a lot harder. I would see how good these girls are across the West Coast, and I came home with like a fire under my ass. And I said, you know what? Those girls are really good. Let's get to work.
Exactly. Yeah. I got to up my game to compete with these kids. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you just get stuck in like your local bubble sometimes. So to say, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? It is worth it in the point where if you want to get your daughter motivated, yes. But do I think it's going to get you recruited? No.
Yeah.
Because the chances of a college coach walking by the game that you're interested in, and then, you making this spectacular play while they're watching and be like, oh, actually, I do need an outfielder for 2023 or whatever it may be, are like slim to none. And
like you just have to happen to catch them walking by at that exact moment you're doing something.
Yeah. So, if I had two pieces of advice for girls trying to get recruited or guys trying to get recruited is one is create a good reputation. You never know who's going to be watching and when. Like what you do off the field is just as important as what you do on the field. Okay.
Right.
So, weight lift, work hard, do the extra. Like it doesn't just end on the field. That's what set me apart is, I outworked 95% of the girls I played with. And I, would wake up before our early tournament games and hit in my backyard before the early tournament games, before our games, like we would hit, before my practices, we would hit in the backyard. Like, that's what set me apart. So you have to be willing to outwork 90% of the other players that are on the field with you.
Absolutely.
And then number two is to go to these camps and clinics because those are great recruiting tools that colleges use to say, hey, you know what? We need this, this, and this for this year. And why wouldn't they want to talk to you? You know what I mean?
Exactly,
like you're there.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity for them to not only see you, but you to also see them. It's a two-way street. Just like I told you, I went to that local college camp and I realized, oh my God, I do not want to be a part of this team. That's a great way of you actually going in and learning that too for yourself.
Yeah. And experiencing it firsthand. Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it. Like you get this feeling like when you know. So
that's huge. Cause like, I'm not one of the people that can be like, oh, I'm like, especially the kids that go to like these camps or something and they meet like a coach halfway and they're like, yeah, I'm going to commit to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I've never seen a campus, never seen anybody. I just talked to the coach. He offered me. So I took it. I'm like, dude, that's pretty ballsy. Honestly, you haven't seen the team chemistry. You've met one coach. You haven't even met the head coach that time. Sometimes it's only the assistant. I'm like, dude, no, that's
right.
I think being there in person, experiencing it, seeing the facilities, seeing the school, touring all aspects of it, is a huge piece to deciding where you are. Exactly. Seeing their philosophy, seeing where you fit in, seeing what the plan is for you. Do they have space for you? Or are you just a walker? Like, there's so many aspects to it. It's insane. So I think you've pretty much hit the nail on the head. Like you need to go see it. You need to experience it. You need to talk to the coaches and make your educated, informal decision based on how you feel in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're approaching the hour, so we've had a lot of great information. We're super happy you're here. So tell us a little bit about what happens at the Amanda Werth Softball Academy and what you kind of have going up. I know, and this is how it is in baseball. I'm sure it's the same for softball. Once Christmas passes, it's like go time because season's coming in like 4 to 6 weeks. Like people are getting ready. Like they've taken that time off. I think December is kind of like that time where people are kind of like, let's ease into the holiday. Let's take a little bit of time off because a lot of girls and guys are playing year round, which that's a whole other story for me because I'm super against that, to be 100% honest with you. Especially with boys. I'm not.
Girls do need a break.
I'm not huge on parents pushing their kids, because I was one of those kids. My dad was one of those guys that made me play from January to December, January to like forever. And my arm paid the price in my 20s. You know, my arm blew up on me, right? So that's a whole nother story. We won't get into that because we could talk honestly probably for hours with what you've seen and what I've seen. Like, but kids should not be playing year round. I'll just say that. And they take December off. They kind of take that time off, which if you do that, that's phenomenal. I think that's great for the kids' psyche, for their bodies to develop and recover from the long seasons they play. And then, so once Christmas hits, you know, it's go time, right? Is that kind of how it goes for you? Yeah. It's time to start getting ready. Yeah. So what's going on at Amanda Werth Softball Academy, and what do you guys have coming up in the next couple of weeks?
So Christmas break is always a fun one. Christmas break is always like, you know, kids are off of school. They want to get out of the house, you know, they're getting like a little, you know, antsy. And so we have like Christmas break clinics all throughout next week, which those are so much fun.
Yeah. I bet.
We take it a time to like make it fun. Like it's not super, super serious. Like a lot of our other clinics and camps. Yeah. Like we play a lot of games, like the girls are laughing, like we play dodgeball at the end, because what softball player doesn't like dodgeball?
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. And so after that, though, after the new year, that's when things start to get serious, where we're going to buckle down. We have lots of group classes available. We're going to have like lots of small group private training available, you know, with lots of different topics, and, you know, lots of different college girls who are here locally, like they're ready to work, they're ready to play too. So
that's awesome.
And then eventually, you know, what I'm trying to get going in the next probably like 3-4 months is actually a YouTube channel.
There you go.
You know, right now I can only really reach my Western New York bubble, but I would love to start a YouTube channel where I can start to post drills, start to post our workouts, start to actually reach more people rather than just this small area, because, you know, like I feel like we've reached so many, but I feel like there's so many yet to be reached. And, you know, absolutely. I would love for more girls to be part of this girl squad. So
yeah, that's awesome. And for anybody who doesn't know Amanda, so if anyone watches our social pages, by the way, I forgot to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this here because everyone needs to hear this. If you watch our social pages, you know I'm the guy that swings and does all the bat product testing. Amanda's about to become the person on the softball side to do that. And I heard back from Easton, it's been an insane week, as you know. I mean, this is Christmas time
it's Christmas.
For any sort of retail marketing, anything like that is literally, I don't sleep like at all. I'm like working like all the time. It's insane because we got to make things happen. But Amanda I'm hoping next week, hoping the week after, will start product testing for us and doing the same thing with bats, gloves, anything like that we saw on our softball.com side. She will be now doing the same kind of reviews, which we're super excited for, which kind of goes into your YouTube channel announcement there. So that would be an awesome way for you to reach and kind of give on what the best products would be, because we are a baseball and softball store. We pride ourselves in our product knowledge, and we think Amanda's obviously insane at what she does. She does a hell of a job doing all of her training and stuff like that. So yeah, so thank you for that, Amanda. And once again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And if you haven't checked out Amanda Werth Softball Academy, please go to her website. I'm going to put it in the link on this. Obviously, we put it on YouTube and on all of our social pages. She's an awesome coach. She has a lot to offer. If you're in the Buffalo area, it's Buffalo, right? Buffalo. If you're in the Buffalo area and you're a softball player and have not heard of Amanda Werth, please go check her out. She knows what she's talking about. If you have not heard, if you listen to this, you probably know now she knows what she's talking about. But yeah, Amanda, anything else you want to say to the people? Anything as we kind of close it out?
No, like I said, I appreciate you guys having me on here and for the opportunity. Like, I love to talk softball, love to talk about this kind of stuff, because it just isn't talked about enough. The recruiting process, like, is almost like, you know, I wish more people shared their stories. Like you're having people share theirs.
Yeah. So I think that's super valuable. That's what we go for here. We want everyone who has something to offer the world of baseball and softball to have a platform to tell it, because it's valuable to people coming up that may not have the opportunity or may not know what's going on or how to kind of conduct themselves in this world, because it's tough. It's tough to break into. So we want everyone to have at least give as much as we can as a company to everyone that can benefit from this stuff. But once again, guys, thanks for watching, and be sure to like, subscribe. This will be available hopefully next Friday. At this point, where today is the 21st, so hopefully we can have it up by the 30th. That's the plan, to have it up so I can cut some clips. We'll get some sneak peeks on all of our socials so you guys can see this stuff, and we'll make sure to tag Amanda so you guys can check out her profile. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. 1 second here. Oh, hold on.